There's a question I get asked often, and perhaps you've asked yourself this same question at some point. The question is, how long does it take to transform your life? How long does it take to become the person you know you're capable of being? How long does it take to develop the kind of momentum that makes you feel unstoppable, that makes obstacles seem small, that makes your goals feel inevitable rather than impossible? And most people, when they think about transformation, they think in terms of years, maybe months if they are optimistic. They think change is slow, gradual, something that requires enormous amounts of time. But what if I told you that the foundation of becoming unstoppable, the core shift that changes everything, can happen in just 7 days? Not 7 years, not 7 months, 7 days. Now, before you dismiss this as exaggeration or hype, let me be very clear about what I'm saying and what I'm not saying. I'm not saying that in 7 days you'll achieve all your goals, become a millionaire, transform your body completely, or reach the pinnacle of success in your field. That's not realistic, and that's not what I'm promising. What I am saying is that in 7 days you can establish patterns. You can create momentum. You can shift your identity. You can build evidence for yourself that you are capable of change, that you are someone who follows through, that you are becoming unstoppable. And once you have that foundation, once you have that momentum, once you have that identity shift, everything else becomes possible. The 7 days don't give you the destination, but they put you firmly on the path. And more importantly, they prove to you that you can walk that path, that you will walk that path, that nothing can stop you from walking that path. So let me share with you exactly what these 7 days look like, what you need to do each day, how to think, how to act, how to build the foundation of being unstoppable. This is not theory. This is not motivational fluff. This is a specific, actionable, proven approach that will change you if you commit to it fully. Day 1 is about decision and declaration. This is the day you stop thinking about change. And you decide, not I'll try, not I hope, not maybe. You decide with absolute certainty that you are changing, that you are becoming unstoppable, that the old version of you who hesitated, who procrastinated, who made excuses, who gave up when things got hard, that person is done, finished. You are becoming someone new. And you don't just decide this silently in your mind. You declare it. You write it down. You say it out loud. You make it real. Not to impress anyone else. This is between you and yourself. But to create commitment that's undeniable. On day 1, you write down exactly who you're becoming. Not in vague terms like I want to be better, but in specific, clear, powerful terms. I am someone who wakes up at 5 a.m. without snoozing. I am someone who exercises daily no matter what. I am someone who does the work even when I don't feel like it. I am someone who keeps my word to myself. I am someone who finishes what I start. I am someone who doesn't make excuses. I am someone who is unstoppable. You write this down as if it's already true, because you're declaring the identity you're stepping into, not describing who you've been. Then on day 1, you identify the one habit that will have the biggest impact on your life. Just one, not 10, not 5, one. Because trying to change everything at once is how people fail. But changing one thing, building one new pattern, creating one solid habit, this is achievable. This is how transformation actually works. So you choose one habit that, if you did it consistently, would transform your life. Maybe it's waking up early. Maybe it's exercising. Maybe it's reading for 30 minutes. Maybe it's working on your most important project for 2 hours before checking email. Whatever it is, it needs to be specific, measurable, and significant. And on day 1, you do it, you start immediately, not tomorrow, today, right now. Because unstoppable people don't wait for perfect conditions. They start where they are with what they have. Day 2 is about proving to yourself that yesterday wasn't a fluke. This is where most people fail. They have a burst of motivation on day 1. They feel excited. They take action. And then on day 2, the motivation has faded, and they go right back to their old patterns. But you're not going to do that because you understand that motivation is unreliable. Motivation comes and goes, but commitment, discipline, identity, these things persist regardless of how you feel. On day 2, you wake up and you might not feel motivated. You might feel tired. You might feel like skipping your new habit just this once. And this is the critical moment. This is where unstoppable people are born, because unstoppable people do what they committed to doing regardless of how they feel. They don't negotiate with themselves. They don't make exceptions. They simply do it. On day 2, you do your one habit again, same time if possible to build the pattern. But more importantly, on day 2, you stack a second element. You add morning priming. This means that within the first hour of waking up, before you check your phone, before you get pulled into the demands of the day, you spend 10 to 15 minutes programming your mind. You review who you are becoming. You visualize yourself executing perfectly throughout the day. You feel the motions of being that unstoppable person. You speak affirmations, not generic ones, but the specific declarations you wrote on day 1. This morning priming, this deliberate mental and emotional preparation, it sets your state for the entire day. It reminds you of who you are and who you're becoming. And when you do this on day 2, you're reinforcing the identity shift. You're not just someone who had one good day. You're someone who is building a pattern. Day 3 is about pushing through resistance, because by day 3, the novelty has completely worn off. Day 1, you had excitement. Day 2, you had determination. But day 3, this is where it gets real. This is where your old self fights back. This is where all your familiar patterns, all your comfortable habits, all your self-sabotaging behaviors, they rise up and they try to pull you back. You'll hear every excuse. You're too tired. You deserve a break. You've been good for 2 days. What's one day off? This isn't working anyway. You'll start tomorrow again. This is the voice of the old you, the you that wasn't unstoppable, trying to reclaim control. On day 3, you recognize this resistance for what it is. It's not truth. It's not wisdom. It's just fear. It's the part of you that's comfortable with mediocrity because mediocrity is familiar. And you make a conscious choice. You acknowledge the resistance. You feel it fully, and then you act anyway. You do your habit despite the resistance, not because of motivation. You prove to yourself that you are stronger than your excuses. And when you do this, when you push through on day 3, something shifts. You realize that the resistance was just noise, that it had no real power except what you gave it. And you start to understand that being unstoppable isn't about never feeling resistance. It's about acting despite resistance. It's about doing what needs to be done regardless of how you feel. On day 3, you also add accountability. You tell one person you trust what you're doing, not for external validation, but for external accountability. You say, I'm committing to this one habit for 7 days. I'm on day 3. I'll check in with you each day. This creates a level of commitment that's harder to break, because now it's not just you who knows if you quit. Someone else knows too. And that external accountability combined with your internal commitment creates powerful momentum. Day 4 is about excellence in execution. By now, you've done your habit 3 days in a row. The pattern is forming. But day 4 is where you elevate. You don't just do the habit. You do it with full presence, with full attention, with excellence. If your habit is exercising, you don't just go through the motions. You focus on every rep, every movement. You bring intensity and intention. If your habit is reading, you don't just move your eyes across the page. You engage fully. You take notes. You reflect on what you're learning. If your habit is working on a project, you eliminate all distractions and you create your absolute best work during that time. This matters because how you do anything is how you do everything. When you bring excellence to your one habit, you're training yourself in excellence. You're building the muscle of focus, of quality, of not settling for good enough, but demanding your best from yourself. And this excellence starts to bleed into other areas of your life. You start carrying yourself differently. You start approaching other tasks with more care. You start holding yourself to higher standards across the board. On day 4, you also introduce reflection. At the end of the day, you spend 5 minutes writing about your experience. What went well? What was challenging? How did you feel? What did you learn about yourself? This reflection serves multiple purposes. It helps you process the experience. It helps you identify iffy patterns. It helps you troubleshoot difficulties before they become reasons to quit. And it creates a record of your journey that you can look back on and see how far you've come. Day 5 is about expansion. You've now done your one habit 4 days in a row. You've built real momentum. You've proven to yourself that you can commit and follow through. Now it's time to expand slightly, not by adding a second habit, but by bringing the same energy and commitment you've brought to your one habit into other areas of your day. You start noticing other choices, what you eat, how you speak to people, how you use your time between your committed habit. You start making small upgrades across the board, not as new commitments, but as natural extensions of who you're becoming. Someone who is unstoppable doesn't just show up for their one committed habit and then live carelessly the rest of the day. They bring intentionality to everything. So on day 5, you practice this. You make conscious choices throughout the day. You catch yourself before you waste time. You choose the healthy option instead of the convenient option. You do the harder right thing instead of the easier wrong thing. And each of these small choices, they're building evidence. They're reinforcing your new identity. They're proving to you that you're not the same person you were 5 days ago. Day 6 is about pushing past your limits. By now, your one habit should feel achievable. You've done it 5 days in a row. It's becoming familiar, maybe even comfortable. But unstoppable people don't settle for comfortable. On day 6, you push yourself beyond what you've been doing. If you've been waking up at 60 hours a.m., you wake up at 5:30. If you've been exercising for 20 minutes, you do 30. If you've been reading for 30 minutes, you read for 45. You deliberately go beyond what you've established as your baseline. Not to punish yourself, but to expand your capacity to show yourself that you're capable of more than you thought. To refuse to let your habits become limiting rather than liberating. This push on day 6, it's psychological as much as it is practical. Because when you do more than you've been doing, when you exceed your own expectations, you shatter the internal ceiling of what you believe is possible for you. You prove that the limits you thought were real were actually just assumptions. And when you realize that you're capable of more than you believed, everything changes. You start thinking bigger. You start attempting things you would have dismissed as impossible. You start living like someone who is truly unstoppable. On day 6, you also practice gratitude, specifically for the challenge. You don't just feel grateful for what's easy or pleasant. You feel grateful for the resistance you push through on day 3. You feel grateful for the discomfort that's teaching you discipline. You feel grateful for the early mornings that are training your mind. You feel grateful for the difficulty because you recognize that difficulty is what's forging you into someone stronger. This gratitude for challenge, it's a mark of an unstoppable mindset because unstoppable people don't avoid difficulty. They don't just tolerate it. They appreciate it because they understand it's making them better. Day 7 is about integration and commitment. This is the day you consolidate everything from the previous 6 days. You do your habit with excellence. You bring intentionality to your entire day. You reflect deeply on how you've changed. You acknowledge what you've accomplished. And most importantly, on day 7, you make a decision about day 8 and beyond because 7 days is just the beginning. 7 days proves it's possible. 7 days builds the foundation. 7 days builds the foundation. 7 days starts the momentum. But unstoppable isn't a 7-day project. It's a lifestyle, it's an identity, it's a commitment that extends indefinitely. On day 7, you look at yourself honestly. You've done something that most people can't do. You committed to something and you followed through for 7 days. Great. No excuses, no exceptions. No excuses, no exceptions, no negotiation. You are not the same person you were 7 days ago. That person might have said they wanted to change, but didn't actually change. That person might have started strong but quit when it got hard. That person might have been full of intentions but lacking in execution. But you, the person sitting here on day 7, you are different. You are someone who follows through. You are someone who keeps commitments to yourself. You are someone who doesn't let feelings dictate actions. You are someone who is becoming unstoppable. And on day 7, you decide, will you continue? Will you take this momentum into week 2, week 3, week 4? Will you add a second habit now that the first one is solidifying? Will you set bigger goals knowing that you have the discipline to achieve them? The answer should be yes, because you've proven to yourself that you can do this. And if you can do this for 7 days, you can do it for 70 days, for 700 days, for the rest of your life. But let me tell you what's really happened in these 7 days beyond the surface level of building a habit. You've rewired your brain. Neuron science shows that it takes consistent repetition to create new neurons pathways to make new behaviors automatic. 7 days isn't enough to make something completely automatic, but it's enough to establish the pathway to create the foundation. Every time you did your habit, despite not feeling like it, you weakened the neural pathway of giving into resistance, and you strengthened the pathway of discipline. Every time you chose excellence over mediocrity, you reinforce that pattern. Your brain is literally different than it was 7 days ago. You've shifted your identity. Identity change is the deepest level of transformation. It's not just about what you do, it's about who you are. And identity doesn't change through thinking about it. It changes through evidence, through repeated behavior that proves to you that you are a certain kind of person. For 7 days, you've been creating evidence that you are disciplined, that you are committed, that you are someone who follows through, that you are unstoppable. And with each day of evidence, your self-concept shifts. You start to see yourself differently, and when you see yourself differently, you behave differently. And when you behave differently consistently, your life transforms. You've built momentum. Momentum is one of the most powerful forces in human behavior. It's hard to get started. It takes enormous energy to go from still to moving. But once you're moving, once you have momentum, it's easier to keep going than to stop. For 7 days, you've been building momentum. And now you have it. And if you maintain it, if you don't break the chain, if you keep going, that momentum will carry you further than you can imagine right now. But if you stop, if you take a break, if you lose the momentum, getting started again will be just as hard as it was on day one. So don't stop. Use the momentum. Let it carry you forward. You've developed self-trust. This might be the most valuable thing you've gained, because every time you said you would do something, and then you did it, you built trust with yourself. Every time you kept a commitment to yourself, you proved to yourself that you are reliable, that your word means something. That when you decide something, it happens. And this self-trust, it's the foundation of confidence. It's the foundation of self-respect. It's the foundation of being unstoppable. Because when you trust yourself completely, when you know beyond doubt that you will do what you say you'll do, there's no goal too big, no challenge too daunting, no obstacle too large. You know you'll figure it out. You know you'll persist. You know you'll find a way. That's what it means to be unstoppable. Now, I want to be honest with you about what happens after day 7. Because it's not all easy from here. There will be days when you struggle. There will be times when you slip up. There will be moments when you question whether you can really sustain this. And that's okay. That's normal. That's part of the journey. Being unstoppable doesn't mean you never fall down. It means that when you fall down, you get back up immediately. You don't spiral. You don't let one mistake become a missed week. You don't let one mistake erase all your progress. You acknowledge what happened. You learn from it. You adjust. And you keep going. And here's what you need to understand. The 7 days wasn't about perfection. It was about direction. It was about proving to yourself that you can change, that you have what it takes, that you are capable of discipline, of commitment, of following through. And now that you know this, now that you've proven it, you carry that knowledge with you on your hardest days. You can look back at these 7 days and remember you can do hard things. You can keep commitments. You can push through resistance. You are unstoppable. So as you finish day 7 and look ahead to day 8 and beyond, I want you to embrace something. You are not returning to who you were. You are not the same person who started this journey 7 days ago. You are someone who has changed, who is changing, who will continue to change. You are someone who doesn't make excuses. You are someone who doesn't quit when things get hard. You are someone who does what needs to be done regardless of how you feel. You are someone who is becoming the highest version of yourself. You are someone who is unstoppable, and being unstoppable, it's not about being perfect. It's not about never struggling. It's not about having everything figured out. It's about refusing to quit. It's about getting back up every time you fall. It's about keeping your commitments to yourself. It's about continuous forward movement, even when the pace is slow. It's about being so committed to your growth, to your goals, to your transformation that nothing, absolutely nothing can permanently stop you. You can become unstoppable in 7 days. Not because 7 days gives you everything you want, but because 7 days gives you everything you need to get everything you want. 7 days gives you the foundation, the momentum, the identity, the self-trust, the discipline, the evidence. 7 days proves it's possible. And once you know it's possible, once you've proven to yourself that you can do this, then it becomes not a matter of if you'll achieve your goals, but when, because someone who is unstoppable, someone who refuses to quit, someone who keeps showing up day after day, that person doesn't fail. They just haven't succeeded yet. But the bell, it's inevitable. So start your 7 days. Start today. Start right now. Make the decision. Make the declaration. Choose your one habit. Do it immediately, and then do it again tomorrow, and the day after, and the day after that. Push through the resistance on day 3. Execute with excellence on day 4. Expand on day 5. Push your limits on day 6. Integrate and commit on day 7. And then keep going, because you're not just building a habit. You're not just having a good week. You're becoming unstoppable. And that changes